So good morning, everyone. Welcome back. Wow, good to see all of you. So do you believe that it is November the 30th? Do you believe that? I don't, because it's only 26 days till liftoff. We're going to do a little piece before we start with our topic, which is attachment today. Hafsa had a really great idea, all right? And I want to share it with you. And she suggested, because I have serious misgivings about my flight company and the likelihood that I will ever see the bag that is in cargo, that we tag it. This is a new concept for me. And apparently it doesn't get your bag to you, but it tells you where it got left. All right, which apparently is a help. All right, so when it doesn't arrive at Mahogany Springs Lodge in Kampala, Uganda, which I am preparing myself for, at least tagging the bag will let me know that it's not in the Atlantic Ocean. So we'll know where it is, and hopefully it won't be lost for all eternity. I do have a backup. My carry-on has the essentials of life. So then I had a great idea building on Hafsa's, which is quite often what happens. And that is, why just tag the bag? Why not tag me? All right, so that for anyone who wants to track the adventure and send me strength and positive thoughts every day, many days I will need them. And I hope every one of you will make the effort, make a little effort to tune into my Facebook page, my YouTube page, Instagram page, or hoarding.ca. You'll be able to see the path that I am physically taking, as well as small videos of the footage of the day before. So now I'm giving myself 2.5 days, right at the very, very beginning, where the footage will really be, if you want to know about what Uganda is like, what the people are like, what the lodges, the safari lodges are like, if you're curious at all, and what the Bwindi impenetrable forest is like, village around it. I'm also going to be doing an interview with the Ugandan Wildlife Authority. All right. When I'm heading out on the gorilla treks, I have 3 of them. I will be interviewing the ranger who's leading us, one or both of the armed guards, if they speak English or somebody can translate, and the porters about their experiences, because they will have done hundreds and hundreds of these. So they'll know whether what you're seeing in the video is usual or abnormal. And then, of course, there will be the gorillas. But because I'll be wearing a tracker, you'll be able to see not just the video, but like a map, the path I'm taking, and exactly where I am, so that you know where you are when I introduce you to the mountain gorillas. Okay. And I'm going to meet and share. I want you also to meet those mountain gorillas and share with me, all right, through the video, what being up close and personal to a species that is really a cousin to us. And I want you to think of that video every day as our video, all right? Because I'm not going to mince or downplay any of the true challenges that I'm going to encounter, many of which I can't foresee. And the purpose of doing this will be to share with you ways that I can demonstrate, not just talk, but actually have to live it in real life, those challenges and how to overcome them. The best solutions that I can come up with to what will be really truly a long list of challenges. Why? Why is that worth a few minutes every day? Because every single day that you're tuning into the video on whatever platform is easiest for you, you too will be having challenges. And I hope that my example of, in real life, never having done this before, here it is rearing its ugly head in front of me. Maybe some of the strategies will be of use to you. All right. Maybe the thinking, you are intelligent, capable people. Sometimes it's just that thinking, that overwhelmed thinking, that limited belief thinking, all right, that we all have experienced, myself included. That's what gets in the way. And even if you don't use the strategy per se, maybe the thinking, because I'll be telling you what I'm thinking, and Braden will be able to edit out any inappropriate language, because this will be an in the moment experience. And I am, after all, Irish. Okay. You can at least try some of them. All right. I'm not having fun with them. In the luxury of your living room or wherever you are, you can have a little fun with trying some of the thinking on for size and see if you can make them your own, so that you don't have to remain feeling, as you've told me you are, stuck, overwhelmed, unmotivated, and discouraged. All right. Same data in, same output. Different data in, at least different output. Okay, so let's get started with today's topic. Oh, I want to show you one more thing. All right, so I put this little thing together. Now, I've decided if I'm going to do this, I'm going to have fun with it. All right, so this is my helmet. I'm not sure I can wear it if it's blazing sun, but basically, this is my helmet because this is a 360 camera. It has a lens on the front and a lens on the back. And either I am going to wear this, or one of the 8 porters who are carrying that sedan chair that I hope to never have to use will be wearing this. Certainly they'll be wearing this when we get in with the gorillas. All right, God willing, we find them. But this camera takes pictures 360, not just what's in front of you. And I did explain to the organizer, the safari organizer, that because I've lost 2 inches in my height, and now I'm 5'1" and a little, could I please not be at the back of the group that treks in, because I don't want hours and hours and hours of somebody's backside bobbing in front of me and capturing it on 360 video. And they've told me that I can be the third person. And the third person comes right after the ranger who's going to find the gorillas and the guy with the rifle, who is our front security. All right. Then apparently I get first dibs at third position. So I'm hoping to get really good footage for you and give you the chance to experience what I really believe will be a profound, once in a lifetime. Okay. All right. So let's get started with today's topic. As I said before, today we're going to focus on attachment. All right. The reason we're going to focus on attachment is because how it's developed and how it can work for us and against us is key to every relationship, good, bad, or indifferent, that we will have throughout our life. All right. Attachment is a core piece of the human experience. And it is a piece of every single thing, whether it's people, or why am I talking about it on a Conquer the Clutter podcast? It's also true. It's a heavy, heavy, heavy influencer on the relationship we find and form with things as well, right? especially when the things in our life represent goals, wishes, dreams, and fears, the biggies, all right? Can you see, is it a little clearer now, why attachment? Because we can see that how we would relate to these things, all right, is going to, in significant detail and strength, tell us how we're going to be able to overcome limiting beliefs, the ways that maybe we didn't have the best attachment, the healthiest attachment. And check your birth date on the calendar. Do you want to be dragging that with you at the ages you are? Wouldn't you like to have a choice about whether you carry it or whether you just put it down? All right. Because remember, whatever happened that influenced us in infancy or childhood or even as an adult has an effect on our brain, has an effect on our functioning. But our brains have a significant capacity for what they call neuroplasticity. All right. And neuroplasticity just means we can stretch, we can grow, we can change with effort. So attachment then is really about how we relate to no matter what is in our life. Our partners, our pets, our siblings, our parents, our neighbors, our clutter. All right. So there's more than one type. In fact, there are quite a few. We're really only going to talk about two because the others are variations on that. So attachment can be secure or insecure. All right. And which of those you have the best hold on plays a critical role in the development of our own self as infants and throughout, right up to and including adulthood. I know you've heard more than enough, or I say enough already, about the chemistry of the brain. Enough. I've had enough. If I wanted to be a scientist, I would have gone into whatever, biophysics or whatever it is. But one little aside, all right, what's all of that attachment, secure and unsecure? All right, what's that about? It's about the way our brain functions. This is command central. You may think you live in your heart. You don't, all right? You don't live in your heart. It starts here, and whatever chemistry you send here is the fuel that goes to here, all right, here, and the rest of your body. It's all being coordinated here. Secure attachment strengthens us in many, many ways. The adverse childhood experiences, and nobody gets into this world and out of this world without something, all right? Hopefully it isn't what feels like an insurmountable overload. They are likely to lead to attachment disruptions, all right? Did I say that that's your destiny? No. A disruption is just a disruption. And when you become aware of it and how it's playing out for you, and this little workbook, which I am going to do kind of a traveler's guide for you so that you can appreciate whether there's material in here, and I sincerely believe there is. All right, I get nothing out of this. Working through the different modules in this book, you're going to have some really useful, eye-opening realizations. It's worth the effort. It's worth the I paid $35.95. What you could do, a little hint if budget's an issue, because $36 plus tax is a lot for a book. You could go on Alibris, ALBRIS books, or ABC books, and you could see whether this has been out long enough that maybe people have handed in, they've done their work, they've handed in their copies, or maybe there is an extra from how many ever prints they've had. Just have a look there, okay, and see. This is a really worthwhile book. So these disruptions damage us, all right? They damage us as growing, developing children in many ways. You had to know this, excuse me. I have French bulldogs. I think that I pay the mortgage on this house and I call the shots. Not so. Hold on 1 second, sorry. Take everybody out. No, you're going. Okay, where you go. Sorry, guys. The little snorer was happy to stay, but her sister wasn't happy to be left out. Oh, well, kids. All right, so disruptions in our attachment will damage us as growing, developing children in many, many ways, all right? So first, let's look at secure attachment. This is when there is a positive. It's an asset. So secure attachment really is just a normal, positive desire to bond. How? With our parents, with caregivers, through love, through a loving, whatever is interpreted by a pre-verbal, almost sometimes precognitive infant. That interpretation is to bond, to form a closeness. All right. All right. Parents first, caregivers through love. They become attachment figures, and there is a priority. All right. An attachment figure can be any consistent, receptive, close family member or other. Now, for most of us, that's going to be our primary attachment figure is going to be our mother. I don't really believe it's gender related. I believe it's more the way our society is organized and who is available. All right. Now, what we do with that primary attachment figure is we count on them. This is pre-verbal, almost precognitive, more sensations than really thoughts. We count on that attachment figure to figure out what we need and to comfort us appropriately and effectively when we need it, when we're in need, especially when we're uncomfortable or distressed. When this happens, when this awareness, response, effectiveness happens consistently and reliably, our ability to function improves. All right. There's a linear relationship. Even better when we have two secure caregiver relationships. Now, it is the consistency. It isn't any care. It isn't anybody. The infant, you and I as infants could identify that this face, this smell, this expression, this voice, this touch, oh, that's the special one. That's the safe one. That's the one I can count on. All right. The more loving care you have, the better, obviously. But infants are responsive to the consistency as well as the reliability. All right. So what that does when that continues to happen in secure attachment is it creates a deep, profound emotional bond. And these bonds, they're forming in us. They are still, why am I belaboring this? Because they're still in us. All right. From the very first months of our life. The bond is between the infant, us as infants, and that very select, limited primary caretaker pool. All right. And what that bond, that reciprocity in response and between the caretaker and the infant is basically, it says to the infant, I'm here for you. You're safe. I'm here for you. Now, how many people right here now can say the same in their own life about others? Thumbs up, whoever. Yep, that's a part of my life. I'm not seeing a lot of thumbs. Thumbs, by the way, can be found under reactions. Come on, people. I have 44 people. I have 2 thumbs.
Elaine,
Yeah.
would you restate the question?
Okay.
Please.
The question is, right now, at this point in your life, how many people have a primary attachment figure, all right, living or not, that is meaningful to you today as you get through today, who you can draw on, that will say to you, I'm here for you. I have 5 thumbs of 43, 44. Okay, so why is that important? Okay, because I want you to imagine that the lack of that means that you are still, I'm not saying you're a baby, I'm saying that you are back, this need for, I'm here for you. All right, you're safe. As an adult, you can go back to that. I did mention this is a primary fundamental need. All right, it doesn't go away. You can become independent, you can become successful, you can become a lot of things, competent. All right, you can be a caretaker to others. As an adult, the good news is, the reason I'm talking so much about the first months of life and babies and infants and a secure attachment and not, the reason I'm doing that is because if you don't have that in your life, and 5 thumbs means the vast majority of people here don't feel they have that. If they could find the thumb figure under reactions, all right, and they didn't choose it, then what I want for you is I want to help you learn how to be that for yourself, because that's the great part about being an adult, is we have more to use than we did as a reactive, nonverbal, dependent infant. The feelings of not having it are the same. Sadness, depression, anxiety, low self-worth. Hopefully nobody has all of those, but any one of those doesn't feel good and does not fuel you. All right. This is tied to why I'm going to Uganda. Yeah, there will be gorillas, and yeah, that will be a great moment. But that great moment is going to be in the context of, I can't even imagine how many challenges. All right. And I want you to see in real life what it takes to find that in yourself. All right. Because when you, as an infant, a child, or now, feel reliably loved and responded to, caringly rather, as a caretaker, even if at this point in your life, you have to be your own primary caretaker, caregiver, right? The child, when they got that response, developed a feeling of safety. You too can have safety. Being protected, you too can feel protected. You can be protected by yourself. Not perfectly. This is not a kumbaya moment. This is in the horns of a dilemma, under stress, when you feel overwhelmed, when you're looking at all of that clutter. All right. You can feel secure that you're capable of finding the answer for you in a way that you can use it. All right. I'm going to present a lot of material because no one piece is the answer for 43 people. A piece of it might be, and then you might take that piece, that thing that's said, that realization, you might take that and turn it into a resource that is uniquely fitted to your needs right now. How did we get so that you can figure out, I don't remember being a 3-month-old baby. So how would I know this? You'll know this because if this caregiver, this you're safe, you're secure, you're protected, got translated to us only through feelings. What are your feelings now and sensations? What do they communicate to you? We're talking things like skin-to-skin contact, kissing, cuddling. You don't have any of those? Positive eye contact. All right? Warm facial expressions. It can be a stranger on the street who you make eye contact with. They don't grin or smile. They just smile and they acknowledge you. Warm facial expressions, rhythmic gestures, dancing, moving, yoga, meditation. Vocal sounds are also very effective. Humming, singing, chanting. Key, however, is that then as an infant and now you as an adult can give yourself enough of those that feed that sense of safety, security, you matter, you are connected, and that those skills and strategies you can access reliably, consistently when you need them. All right. And when you give yourself that attention, it will be just like as an infant getting the attention. You will have a greater sense of, my getting my needs met doesn't simply depend on having other people to meet my needs. If I'm alone in this world, I can still be okay. I can still be safe. I can still be loved because I can appreciate myself even with all the warts and missteps and, weaknesses, challenges. So as an infant, the test of will they come was expressions and behaviors like crying, crying. They were limited, right? All right. And so when you come for yourself, when you put a little energy into what do I need? All right, what do I need? Where is it? And how do I get enough of it to make enough of a difference? When you make that effort for yourself, even testing, is this it? Is this it? Is this it? When you do that, you reassure yourself that you are able to find some of these answers enough to keep yourself feeling not abandoned. But as an infant, if they didn't happen, simply understand that piece that would have been a leg up, you didn't get, or you didn't get enough of. And that means that you have a greater need to understand what the deficit is, because you can meet it for yourself. And when you know that a little better, you will attract, your energy will change. You will attract others who also can add to that bonding relationship and are trustworthy. So the results of this relationship bond is that sense of security as an infant and as a self-parent. Let's call it self-parenting. All right. And the great thing is that almost certainly somebody, you're alive. All right. You're alive. You are functioning. Somebody, maybe not a mother, maybe not a father, somebody stepped in as a reasonably reliable, dependable, responsive caregiver. All right. And you have some degree of experiencing security. It came from somewhere. The great thing is, whatever you did get endures. All right. It endures. It stays with you. And it can be called upon as needed if you know how to do it. And if you can quiet the limiting beliefs. There's an exercise in this workbook. I get nothing out of this, but this is a great workbook, people. And it's an exercise to figure out what your unique core beliefs are. And they might surprise you. All right. There are exercises to help you lead up to that and to process whatever your realizations are as well. I strongly encourage you to see if you can work through really great modules in this book. All right. All right. Because when you got them, when you know how to identify them, that's what it is. And I see that in myself here, and I can respond and get it there, and I can get it there. And these other kinds of experiences that are negative, those experiences are when I can't find it. So what do I need to do for myself? What do I need to do for myself so that those sensations that are in me already, everybody who is standing and breathing, all right, check it out. Are you breathing? Okay, is there a fog on the mirror? If there's a fog on the mirror, you have to some degree got some level of security, all right? And it can be called upon as needed when you know how. Now, with secure attachment, the time in your life when that fundamental milestone was forming is imprinted in your senses. All right. It's not up here in your thinking. You cannot put words to it. All right. It's senses. How many times do you listen? You know that expression, your spidey senses? How many times do you even factor that in? Do you even stop and wonder, what's that about? What is that trying to tell me? All right. Because this all formed, and you never get rid of this. You never get rid of this. All right. That all started to form in an emotional way in the right hemisphere of your brain. All right. And it happened before you could put words or you were even aware of thinking. You were reactive. And it tends to remain active and available for life. So whatever piece of that initial attachment, which is like your breath, try to live without your breath. This is like your breath. It's there. It remains active and available for life. Was it enough? We will wait and see. All right. And you will be aware of it. Some people call it energy. Some people call it aura. Some people call it a lot of things. Some people call it guess. All right. Generally, it comes from your sensations. All right. Those sensations are part of the attachment bond. They're part of you. Listen to them. They don't make the decision, but you need to be aware and factor them in. All right. Because the more you factor in your sensations, or you at least listen to them, and you may work around them, you may problem solve, not to be at the whim of a sensation. The more you do that, as you move forward with whatever choice or decision you're going to make, you will feel more secure and safe. Absolutely secure and safe. I don't think there's anybody on the face of the earth who has absolute security, absolute safety. All right. And so you can try to name them, but if you could just not go for the perfect outcome, having to understand them and articulate them. All right. Because they are sensations. They are not anything that you ever, as they were forming, were able to verbalize. All right. And they imprint. They are like a tattoo. They imprint in non-verbal messages. So as you attach securely, to the extent you attach securely to a primary caretaker, you feel loved. You feel secure. Whatever percentage of loved, whatever percentage of secured. Good enough. Whatever percentage of feeling good enough. Just as you are. No changes. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Good enough. On your worst day, you're good enough. All right. Do you please yourself and others? Probably not. But you know what? You're still good enough. Here's the bottom line, though, that you matter and that you have worth. How many people here, we're not talking absolute, we're not talking every day of your life. Is there anybody here who has perpetually on every single day not been able to feel good enough? Every single day you feel not good enough. There has never been a day or a part of a day or an experience where you thought, you know, there's room for growth, there's room for improvement, but I'm good enough, I matter. And if you do, if that is your reality, know that you should not be giving yourself that message, because that was a message from the next thing we're going to talk about, insecure attachment. All right. And insecure attachment is about not getting what you deserved. All right. What you needed in a major way. All right. Now, most people have some, at least, thread of an awareness that they do matter. The reason I'm belaboring this right now is because you need to be able to stay in contact with that. I'm not saying fully every moment of your life have full grasp of it, but to be able to be in contact with it, because why would you make the effort to do something as unpleasant as declutter? Nobody in their right mind wakes up in the morning and says, gee, I can hardly wait to get at it. Particularly if they feel overwhelmed, like the piles are winning. All right. I don't think that that's a natural response. We do not look forward to things that we feel overwhelm us. But if they overwhelm us, it's because in some way we're in a position of feeling insecure, either incapable of making the decisions, like literally incapable of it, or unresourced. Unresourced means I just don't know how to go about making these decisions, prioritizing what constitutes keep, go, pass on. How many people here right now, we'll just talk about clutter right now. How many people right now, 9/10 of the time, feel a little stymied? Gotta find it. Hold on.
On the age?
Who is, just hold on.
Thank
Okay. Hafsa, can you handle that? How many people here, 9/10 of the time, feel like they back away from the piles, they back away from the clutter? And if you could put in one word, got more thumbs that way. Okay, I know the questions to ask now. If that's true, and you could put it in one word, what would it be? Can you put that in the chat? What would be the one word that would describe what you're feeling? Because it's probably coming from a feeling. It probably isn't coming from a thought. Maybe you verbalize it or you translate it into a thought. But if it's deep enough to make you go on stall, it's coming from a feeling. What's the sensation you have? Let's go back to what the baby did. All right. The baby translated from sensations. So what would the sensation be? Well, I see failure here. Failure is a meaning. Sensation is where it registers in your body. All right, and your mind being a muscle in your body without translating into a meaning. Fed up, okay. So guilt, okay. Lost, all right. Let me have a look at these. I got 42. Where are the chats? 58, okay. Okay, so let's go through this and just, this is worth taking the time. ET doesn't have a reaction box. I like the first one. Okay, no problem. All right, let me have a look here. Thoughts, come down here. I'm just trying to find where you are. More brain. I have 58 messages. Give me a second here. Despair. Despair. Despair is a feeling. All right. It's not a judgment. It's a feeling. Okay. Despair. So, Christine, we probably won't get to the second part of this. We probably will start that way next week. Despair. What is the prompt that generates despair? What is it you're seeing, thinking, feeling, doing? What is the prompt that gives you despair? If you could put into words one sentence, I feel despair because, okay, overwhelmed, Kimberly, is a very, very normal one. All right, overwhelmed. Overwhelmed quite often, however, comes from one of two things. All right, it's the balance between feeling that you have the resources and the capability. All right, those two, it's like a teeter-totter. All right, and when it sits on no movement, one or both of those are out of balance. All right, one or both of those are out of balance. Which would you say is out of balance? Fear. All right. ELTI. Fear. Fear is a feeling. That is a sensation. All right. I feel fear because. I know it's fear because I can't get my breath. My brain is running on high alert. I get headaches. I know it's fear because. Another overwhelmed, not unmotivated. Okay, Galaxy, unmotivated. Unmotivated comes, in my mind anyway, comes from one of two places, sometimes a combination. But the unmotivated can come from, I've had an experience of failure or defeat, and I haven't been able to move forward. So I'm discouraged, therefore I'm overwhelmed and I feel unmotivated. All right. Or unmotivated can be, it's just not a big enough priority yet. I'm busy, I have other things, so I give myself other distractions. All right. And that uses up my time, my energy, and my focus. And this is low on the priority list because it hasn't yet stood up and bitten me in the form of, if you own your own property and the fire department is interested, or you rent and your landlord's going to make an annual visit. Hafsa, can you handle the waiting room? All right. Where else are we here now? Unmotivated. Guilt. Okay. San. I feel guilty because. B. Disgust. Disgust. I would bet my last dollar that if disgust is what you're feeling, you're listening to the voices on the committee, because generally we don't disgust ourselves. Disgust would be a feeling that would come because we're not measuring up to someone's standard or someone's expectations. And maybe we have internalized those messages, those standards, those criteria for being good enough. And when we don't, then we are clearly what they said we were, or what somebody who doesn't maintain a neat, clean environment would be. But that's a message from outside if it's discussed. Watch that you're not listening to the voices on the committee, because they don't have the strength. Anybody who sits back and criticizes somebody in messages that are powerful enough that years and years and years later, they're still playing around in the other person's head, those were not people who you wanted to listen to begin with. All right. That was coming from a place in them that wasn't very healthy, because nothing should imprint on you that is negative to the point that it brings you to a grinding halt and keeps you from moving forward in your own life in ways that you legitimately want to, or you wouldn't be here. Nobody does that because they discuss themselves. All right. Who is the voice on the tape? And let's delve a little deeper into why you're holding on to that. Avoidance. So Carrie, tell me a little more about avoidance. Avoidance is a choice, okay? Avoidance is a choice. So what is prompting, what is fueling you avoiding? You didn't say fear. You didn't say overwhelmed. You said avoidance. Tell me a little more about, just before you make the choice to avoid, what's happening. Put it in the chat. I'm going to print the chat off. We'll start working from the chat before we move on to insecure attachment next week. Okay. Overwhelmed. Glenda, overwhelmed. I go back to overwhelmed is generally, all right, the out of balance of two things. That you feel resourced. You have the time, energy, and actual resources, and that you feel competent. You know that you can make the decisions. You know that you can lift the things. You can carry the bags. You have the physical, mental, and emotional competence to be able to do it. Generally, when those two things are out of whack, that's when you find overwhelmed. All right. But overwhelmed isn't the worst place to be. It's not a great place to be, but it's not the worst place to be, because when I can help you identify what the resources are that you need, all right, and we can come up with some strategies to work around whatever the not competent, not physically, mentally, emotionally able. What's the backfill on that? Some progress is probably likely. Repelled. Kyle, repelled. Tell me about repelled. Repelled is a word I don't often hear. Tell me a little more about that. Stall, avoid. Okay, you're stalled. Okay, stall. I feel stalled because this fill in the blank causes me to stall out. Sadness. So sadness can be, sadness is a confusing one, all right? Because sadness can be, I'm sad that I'm going to have to make decisions and some of this is going to go. So it could be a grief, sort of parting, letting go. It isn't unusual that the things that are kept, even though they may not have any significance or meaning for many other people, may be unique to you. There's a sadness in letting them go because you might be losing, something that's really important to you, like a career or a job or a skill or evidence that you did matter. You were good at something. You really enjoyed doing that. And that's a grief thing. That's sadness. It could be sometimes the loss of a person, a relationship. It could be a loss of health as well. Could be a loss of financial security that makes a person feel vulnerable and afraid and at risk. So sadness is an emotion. All right, it is a sensation, Alina. So my sadness is about, if you could just add to that, that's something we will take up next week. Fear is not unusual. All right. Fear, the way, and if this is not the way, Sarah, that you're experiencing it, fear is generally about, I won't have enough. I might need it. It's a major investment. I won't feel ready. And ready can be vulnerable, but I won't be ready can also be, I'm working with a woman right now, and she's not the first woman who said this to me, but it's an interesting take. And that is, I'm the go-to person. My identity, the thing I stand out for is, if you need something, call so-and-so. All right. And she'll have it, or she'll get it, or she'll know who And I would really miss being that, because that's where I get validated. That is such a positive thing for me, that people count on me and that I can always come up with it. It's my identity. It's a piece of my identity. All right. So I lay a challenge out for you on that. If having things and making them available, being the go-to person, or just even the go-to for yourself. If I had something happen, I need to keep all of these things in order to handle whatever might come my way in the way of a challenge. All right, I need to be ready. So I need to keep these things. One of the things I'd like to challenge you on that one with, and you know what, there's truth to that, but it's not absolute truth, because if you're that resourceful, I'm betting dollars to donuts that you would find another way. You would find another way, because the capability is in you. All right. If it wasn't with this thing, I'm betting that you would put this, this, and this together, or you would find some way around that barrier, because that's what the go-to person does. All right. That's what the go-to person does. And that is who you are. That is who you are. All right. So we are just about at time. Dread. So Glenda, when you say dread, all right, I feel dread because, is it dread of parting with things? Or is it dread by, I just don't know how, I'm like, this is bigger than I am. I don't know how I'm going to manage this. Like, you know, I just don't feel up to it. And I dread having to start. All right. I don't feel resourced. I don't feel physically, mentally, emotionally able to make that many decisions. So whatever I have, how many people do I have here now? Let me see. I have how many people? I have lost my numbers. Yeah, at the top. Hold on, guys. All right.
44.
44. Okay, thank you. I have 44 people here. I'm going to leave the chat open and the Zoom open for another 10 minutes. And I want 44 people to put, I feel whatever it is. And I feel that because, not a big explanation. I feel, what's your first and biggest sensation? I want sensations. I don't want decisions or meanings. I feel like a failure. That is an interpretation. What is the sensation? I want us to go back to the power of when we attached, because everybody here has some degree of positive, secure attachment, some degree. All right. Based on some moments, even if the rest of it was hell. All right. Based on some. And I want us to go back to the power of that piece of secure. I feel this because. What's the sensation? As an infant, you could only sense. You couldn't give it a word. You couldn't interpret it, and you sure couldn't give it a meaning. What's the sensation? I feel this. Or if you can't do I feel this because, I feel this when. All right, that's a tiny step back from because. I feel sad. I feel sad when I look at the piles. If you can add because, that's even better. And that's what we're going to start with. We're going to start with giving 44 people something that is uniquely useful to each and every one of you. If you take the time now and load that chat box with, I feel this when or because. Don't you hate it when I send a challenge out to you? I want you to get somewhere. You deserve, every single one of you deserve to feel a whole lot better than you do. All right, quite often. And you deserve success as you define it. I want you to have that sense of personal satisfaction as you define it. This is how we do it. Good? Now I'm going to go check on the snorer, and I'm going to come back at 1/4 past, and I will close down, but I will hope that there is a bevy of additions in the chat box.
Thank you very much, Elaine.
Take care,
Thanks, Elaine.
everybody.
Thank you so much, folks. Take care. Have a good week.
Bye.